give it up for the one and only Doug Cordell. A little bit louder, y'all. A little bit louder. Come on, y'all.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think tonight shows, what people really value in our public cultural institutions. Free wine, right? Because like clog dancing, shape note singing. Sure, whatever. Keep the wine coming. So, one thing I'm really good at, or bad at, depending on how you look at it, is talking my way into jobs that I'm completely unqualified for. One of which was writing for children's television, because I didn't have children and I didn't have a television. But I was desperately broke, and I talked my way into a job as a staff writer on something called The Book of Pooh, which was thankfully not about bathroom etiquette. It was a charming show based on the tales of Winnie the Pooh. It was a 10-week contract with their option to renew. And it turned out to be like the sweetest gig ever, right? The money is good. The women in the front office are beautiful. And there's a giant ceramic bowl of peanut M&Ms that's continually replenished by invisible elves somewhere. All I have to do is come up with stories. So I'm thinking, it's a puppet show for 4-year-olds, right? How hard can that be? So I start going through old scripts, and some common themes emerge, like we're all special, but no one's more special than anyone else. Or we're all different, which is what makes us all the same. So you take one of those and you kind of squeeze it into a 3-act structure, and you're home free, right? And for those of you who don't know, a 3-act structure is basically Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Too hot, too cold, just right. I just saved you $1,200 on a 3-day screenwriting seminar, so buy me a drink after the show. For you Marxists out there, it's also Hegel's theory of the dialectic of history: thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Too hot, too cold, just right. Those German fairy tales were heavy, man. So a couple problems present themselves right away. One is the sort of unwritten rules of children's television. For instance, no bad modeling. For instance, you can't have one of the characters stick their little mitt into a toaster oven and light up like a Christmas tree, or jump off the house onto a trampoline and bounce into the neighboring town. Hilarious though that might be, because the little ones will try this at home. No Tom and Jerry, right? No Roadrunner, not today, not in today's world. Also, no specific cultural references of any kind, right? No recognizable food or clothing or holidays or nothing identifiable with any known culture anywhere in the world. Because when this thing goes into foreign distribution, those may not play in Hunan province. The other problem is the world of Pooh itself, which seems like a kind of socialist paradise for bachelors, right? I'm like, I'm home. These are my people. Because they don't have to work, all their needs are met, and they all have their own place, right? Piglet's got like a sweet little tree trunk studio that would be like $1,800 a month in Tracy. You can't touch that in Mill Valley. I guarantee you there's someone here who lives in a tree trunk studio, right? It's all men, interestingly, except for Kanga, right? The only woman who's like a single mom on the outskirts of town somewhere. We don't even know where she lives. She's like in a trailer with curlers in her hair, smoking cigarettes. not making an issue of the paternity of little Rue. Right? Because who is Rue's father? My money's on Piglet. Right? Come on. Oh my. Oh my. It has to be one of them, because here's the thing about the 100-acre wood. No one ever comes in and no one leaves. Right? Which makes writing stories a bit of a challenge. You can't have the identical cousin show up from out of town and hilarity ensues, right? All those Brady Bunch plots I was planning on stealing. No, you are stuck with those characters, and they are stuck with each other, right? It's like a passive-aggressive rabbit, a depressive donkey, a neurotic pig, a tiger with, let's face it, developmental issues, and a narcissistic bear with the situational ethics of a drug addict. Because Pooh would sell his little best buddy Piglet into sex slavery for a paw full of honey. You know it, and Piglet knows it. It's a kind of hell, the 100-acre wood. And at this point in the show, it's becoming a kind of hell for me, because we're falling behind schedule, and the pressure to crank out scripts is really growing. And it costs a lot of money to produce a TV show, even a kid's 4-year-old puppet show for 4-year-olds. So the producer is running around making everybody's lives miserable. And also, none of my stories are making the cut, which is not good because my contract is coming up for renewal. So come Sunday night, knowing how much work I have to do, banging out puppet dialogue, come up with something original, try to be funny, try to stick to the world of the show, I can't sleep at night at all. And so one of the other writers, Sylvia, gives me a bunch of Ambien. And she tells me that it helps her and her corporate lawyer husband keep from being at each other's throats. The only problem, she says, is that by about 4 o'clock the next afternoon, it makes you kind of surly. Like you could eat glass, is how she put it. So now I'm gobbling Ambien. I'm stuffing down peanut M&Ms. I'm hunched over my desk, banging out puppet dialogue one afternoon, and my back just goes out, completely out. So bad, like I can't tie my shoes, I can't comb my hair. And so from that point on in the show, I'm basically editing scripts and writing them on my back on the floor. In the writer's room with like pizza boxes around me, people stepping over my head, and I'm just sitting there, trying to like find lightning in a bottle, come up with something magical. And I must have been delusional at that point because I decided to inject some politics into the show. And I came up with a story where Rabbit and Piglet run in competition for a sort of vaguely defined treasury position in the computer-animated forest. And it all devolves into a kind of mad scramble for power with the usual upshot about cooperation versus competition and a subliminal message for the kids about not letting hot-button social issues distract you from your true class interests. That was the story they went for. They liked that one, which was a big deal for me, and set me up now for my table read for the script, my first table read. And it's a cold read, meaning that the producer hasn't seen the script yet. He's only seen like a 2-sentence premise, and the puppeteers who will be doing the voices haven't seen it either. And they're sitting at these long tables on set, and all the cast and crew of the show are there, standing around behind them. And all the women from the front office, the guys from maintenance downstairs, everybody's there. And it's kind of a tense atmosphere. Because if it goes well, it'll be good for everyone, right? The producer will lighten up, they'll be back on schedule, everybody's lives will be made easier. If it goes badly, not good. So it starts off slowly. The puppeteers are kind of holding back, right? It's a new writer, like, who is this guy? They're not really committing to my sparkling dialogue. But then at about a third of the way through, a line gets a laugh and another one gets a little laugh, and being the true hams that they are, the puppeteers starts a riff on this, and they start to have a little fun with it, and it starts to percolate a little bit. It starts to pop. It's get about halfway through, it starts happening, it's going a little bit, and then the puppeteers start making these kind of sexual double entendres off of the line. No, which is good. It's a good sign. It means they're having fun. It's not funny, but it's a good sign. And we get through the third act, moves straight through up to the climactic moment, and then a nice little denouement, a little sweet moment at the end, and we're out. And the place erupts in applause. Everybody, all the puppeteers, the women in the front office, the whole cast and crew, even the maintenance guys from downstairs. Everybody's applauding, everyone except the producer. And he's fingering the script. He's got a problem. He's hung up on a plot point where Rabbit gets a pair of running shoes. And he says, rabbits don't wear shoes. And the script boy who's taking notes by him just sort of chortles at that. And then like a couple people in the back of the room sort of chuckle. And then a few more people laugh. And pretty soon the whole room is laughing at this, and you start to hear this, and the producer's like, you hear this sort of undercurrent of comments like, yeah, what was he thinking with the rabbit wearing shoes? I didn't really think of it at the time, but now it's like, well, that's fucked up. Everyone is laughing, and I'm like, excuse me, and everyone turns to me, and I go, he's wearing a vest. And there's total silence. And all the puppeteers now are giving me these searching looks like, and the producer stands up, he tosses a script on the table, and he says, the vest is part of his character. And he walks out. And the script boy goes scurrying after him. And I have to sit there now with a room full of people, all of whom had been applauding me wildly moments before, staring at me now with complete contempt. That table read did not help me when it came up for my contract to be renewed, and I was exiled from the 100-acre wood. It turns out you can leave after all.